Attorney Bederow has a number of items as well.
Mr. Bederow.
Thank you, Judge.
Honestly, go fuck yourself, sir. You don't say that, okay? You don't lose a trial where a jury acquits someone and finds them overwhelmingly not guilty and say, I gave my sincere obligation to look into this, and I'm telling you all I saw when she's guilty. Again, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Swear again like that. That was, you know, no, I mean, whatever. That was, I shouldn't have done that.
A few moments later.
You, as a prosecutor, have got to be out of your fucking mind.
Nose.
Dude, Jimmy, look at those ears.
The ears don't bother me as much.
No, I don't trust a man. I don't trust a man with a lobe like that. No,
really,
not a fucking chance.
The mouth is butthole to me.
Very thin, paper thin.
The nose.
Oh, the nose.
The brows.
Well, listen, I will tell you though, I kind of like a fucked up nose on a guy.
I like a big old honker. I like a big nose.
Old nose. Give me that beak, bitch. You know,
yeah,
like, I'm into it.
Come over here, cluck cluck.
Yeah.
I see some chickens that went moving on up in my biz, cluck cluck, running. You gotta be with the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, kids.
And I go, oop, clutch, clench, Kegel, we did it all. And I go, oh, and what happened? And they go, well, we just got 4,000 plus pages, bitch. And I said, stop it. Show me it. Take me to Unimpound Town immediately, if not sooner. So what happens?
The bitch is here.
Why are you at a football game? Are you a Fonz correspondent?
Well, no, because it's only for men over 30. Okay? Have a great night, boys. Fuck off.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Hey, Blues Clues, motherfucker.
Good morning, lovies. Welcome to Sunday service. We are together today on October 26th, 2025. And we are here to praise him, okay? We are here to reflect on what has happened in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts over the last week and what we are looking forward to. And potentially saying a couple of Hail Marys, a couple of Our Fathers, and hugging like a warm blanket around us is the soothing and the correct legal takes from our emotional support attorney, Mr. Mark Bederow. Welcome to the stage.
Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Bederow.
How are you?
Happy Sunday service to you.
Same to you.
And also to you. Tiny Mary and Tiny Jesus are both with us today. But today we stand with Tiny Mary because what a world. What a time to be alive, Mr. Bederow. I was not expecting the intense kind of revelations, the book of revelations, if you will, that we have received in the case of one Michael Proctor. And as soon as I saw that on Friday afternoon, there was no one I texted faster, not a soul. Okay. And I said, Sunday service, 8 a.m., my house. And you said, okay. Can you talk me through, as being the first attorney that I had ever seen on the World Wide Web and beyond, and in, on multiple platforms, including Fox News, etc., speaking up about the Karen Reed case, speaking up about Michael Proctor and, potentially a need for him to maybe not speak on certain things, and him just continuing to do that, and where we are today. Break it down like only you can.
Well, none of this is really surprising, that his phone might contain terrible things beyond what was revealed at Karen's first trial. I mean, I don't think anybody's really surprised by that. What's surprising to me is he would know what's on the phone. And, he certainly knew by the time of the first trial that he was in the crosshairs of Karen's very aggressive and very skilled defense, and that they were coming for him basically to wrap this whole thing around him essentially. And given that he would be the one person who would know what's on the phone, he would know other possible people who would know in the sense that they received or even sent messages, whether they're from the state police or otherwise. It would have seemed to me that the best thing that he could have done was say nothing about all of this. And I mean, if you go back and look at some of the interviews, I remember one with, I think, NBC 10, that's the Boston NBC 10, a few others before the first trial talking about Proctor. And what I said was, this guy should take the fifth. Just, he should have a criminal defense lawyer, speak candidly to the lawyer, give the lawyer the lay of the land, and seek some advice. And I think almost certainly that advice would be, you're basically finished as a cop in light of what's going to happen here. And you just keep your mouth shut, and hopefully at some point, you know, you minimize what comes out, you minimize the damage, you minimize your criminal exposure, you minimize your public reputational damage, and you know, you find another line of work or another place if they're willing to hire you as a cop, and you just have to take it. I mean, sometimes giving legal advice is very unpleasant. You know, you're dealing with choices that are neither are good, you know, whether it's door A, B, whatever. Not every situation has a perfect stick the landing, if you will. And for Proctor, that was never going to happen with him. And instead, what he did was, you know, try to punch his way out of it. Testified at the first trial, not in a good way. You know, he was confronted with all of this. He may very well have perjured himself. You know, we've heard stories of intimate images that were on his phone and shared, but you know, that's just a general description. You don't know what those images are. If those images are of Karen, which I don't know that they are or they aren't, I have no basis to know one way or the other. I mean, he was looking for nudes. He said he wasn't looking, you know, he didn't find any, and he would never do that. I mean, you go back and look at his testimony in the first trial, he's locked in pretty solid that it was just a joke. I wasn't looking and I didn't find any, that sort of thing. You know, that could certainly be the basis for perjury charges. Then after the first trial, you know, when he does get terminated and he decides, well, I'm going to fight like hell for my job, is another round of mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, if you saw some of the commentary I gave about that too, was why is this guy on a PR offensive? And if he's going to do it, he needs better handlers and advice from people other than that DiPietro clown and the other, you know, anti-Karen Reed loonies who were basically promoting his attempt to salvage what, if anything, was left of his reputation.
Yeah.
So sending his family out there to make these statements about him was ridiculous. And now they look foolish. I'm sure they're annoyed. And the only PR strategy he really had at that point, something else I'm sure I and others talked about, was the full mea culpa, eat it, you know, I screwed up and I did terrible things and I understand that, and da 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 da. But he couldn't do that. They dug in, and then that wasn't good enough. So then he made the just ill-advised and frankly ridiculous decision to go on a tour, if you will, you know, ABC News, NBC News, National, and make it even worse. And even when he was lobbed the most softball of questions to give him a chance to kind of rehabilitate, I mean, you can't have an easier question than, is there anything that you would do different? I mean, I said, I don't know who I said this to. I think I said it to Peter the other day for something he's filming, that this was the equivalent of a pitcher saying, here comes an 85-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle of the plate, get ready.
Right.
Park. And instead, this moron says, I wouldn't do anything different investigatively. It was fine. So, you know, it's no surprise. Fast forward again, here comes his lawyer for the union, who makes these representations that, you know, he got a new phone in 2024.
Yes.
It's set to auto delete because apparently that's what people do in Norfolk County when you work for the government. You just delete the contents of your phone every 30 days, whatever. The point is, the lawyer made a representation to the court and others that it's almost virtually guaranteed there'll be nothing of substance on his phone relevant to what everyone's dealing with, because he's got a new phone and everything's deleted and whatnot. And then a funny thing happens when they extract the phone. It's not true, whether that's because of the cloud or whatever reason. And at that point, now he's burned the lawyer. The lawyer's not lying, okay? Proctor's union lawyer almost certainly made those representations in good faith.
Of course.
Based upon what his client told him, and he trusted him. And that's a calculated thing at times, but he pushed his chips in the middle of the table and made the representation, and it turns out to be not true, which is another example of probably Proctor lying. They extract the phone, and now you're getting into what have been reported to be thousands of racist messages. Word is that there are homophobic messages, which is troubling. Word is that there are messages that are even besmirching of colleagues of his in the state police, God knows what else, about intimate images, again, which is potentially criminal depending on the timeline. If there were images of Karen, that's not going to be revenge porn or anything. I don't think Massachusetts had that statute at that time, actually. I think that came later, but that's for somebody else to determine. And then, you saw this situation where he apparently is gossiping about sexual assault cases, including revealing the name of alleged victims of sexual abuse who to third parties, meaning not to fellow troopers for a legitimate business discussion. And that's actually a crime. That is an open and shut crime. If anybody wanted to prosecute Michael Proctor under, I think it's, I wrote about this yesterday, and you may see this in an upcoming motion. Like Chapter 41, Section 97D is the confidentiality of, sex abuse victims, including case information and their names, and basically with certain exceptions, again, legitimate law enforcement business discussions from cop to cop, discussions with a victim witness advocate, discussions with the victim or the victim's lawyer, alleged victim, I should say, those kinds of things. Clearly, a police officer can't be telling his drinking buddies, hey, Jane Doe, whose real name is, Michelle whatever from wherever, claims that this happened and da-da-da-da-da. That is illegal. So this guy has a major league mess on his hands, and it's only going to get worse because, if there are racist messages and they're semi-recent, and specifically if they're about, for example, this Myles King defendant, doesn't look like you and me, okay? And if Proctor is talking like that as the lead investigator and saying all kinds of outrageous, disgraceful things as the lead investigator about a suspect, it's the same thing he did to Karen in a different way. Just, he's done it to other defendants. I won't get into all of them. Some of them I can't, where he says things and does things, and it evinces his just poor character, his lack of fitness for his job, but more importantly, his institutional and investigative bias and possible conflicts. And these are the things that potentially can jeopardize a case, even if somebody is guilty. And I mean, I hate to draw the comparison, but the obvious comparison, and there are differences, is like a Mark Furman situation where when you had O.J. Simpson, who, I mean, the evidence appeared to establish his guilt. Men have been executed on far less evidence than was presented against O.J. Simpson. Okay.
Right.
Including evidence that was not presented against O.J. Simpson, like that slow speed car chase, which why that never was introduced is another story for another day. But the point is, Mark Furman made some, gratuitous, stupid comments, which spilled over into, him becoming the problem in the case and probably leading to an acquittal based on, people's views on race. And if this idiot Proctor is doing the same thing with Myles King and everything else about Proctor and everything else going on with the state police and everything else going on with the Norfolk DA and other evidence that could be introduced in the case, such as the mysterious delayed disclosure of these search warrants for up to years.
Yes.
Because of Proctor and this, you know what? Juries are going to be a little concerned. And, how do they explain this to the family of the victim in the King case, assuming if King is guilty? I mean, he's entitled to his day in court, but these cases are going to be impacted. You see that they want to call him in the Walsh case. I assume they will. We absolutely are going to fight to the death to call him in the cases that we're dealing with, even though the prosecution has no interest. This guy is the poster child for corruption and, at this point, misogyny, racism, homophobia, conflicts of interest, bias. And that's why you see even a police union, which is the strongest union you'll ever see. The only one that made it stronger are the teachers. Teachers are pretty.
Oh.
They'll defend anything. The teachers union will.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They'll defend a tenured teacher for anything.
Oh,
But
okay.
putting that aside, for his union to initially come out in 2024 with that, in hindsight, ridiculous statement defending him and then abandoning him immediately upon becoming aware of some of these recent messages.
Yes.
That tells you all to know that this is going to get 1,000 times worse than looking for nudes, recommending that people off themselves, and making comments about criminal defendants, physical conditions that you saw him testify to last year.
Yeah, and I think that was the most kind of jarring part for me, Mr. Bederow, was knowing that the union did stand with Michael Proctor, that they did.
They should, by the way, initially, they should.
Oh, okay. Well, them standing with him through the actual evidence of there being the sexism, the disclosure of, information of an active investigation to his 9 best friends from first grade, having the mocking the medical conditions of Karen, providing her name. If you go back and watch the testimony again and all line by line reviewing them, he provided also Karen's like Facebook and stuff. Like he was putting social media and giving that information. And I remember they asked who was the cop, and he kind of hesitated and didn't provide Officer O'Keefe's information. But this is a playbook. And I have always thought, in my opinion, that this is somebody who you don't just wake up one morning, and I knew it wasn't just Karen's case, that this was insidious, that this had to have been something that you and pervasive throughout, that it got a little bit easier for you to do whatever you were doing. And I knew that if there was racist comments made, and especially if it is about colleagues and about defendants and things like that, that would be problematic. But where the kind of just the bomb for me was sexual assault victims naming, providing information that should but never be named, and also nude or illicit images of body parts of people not in the chat. Okay, so that's exactly the verbiage from the motion, was that he was, it was discussed about people that were not in the chat. And all I'm thinking to myself is, this is scratching the surface.
Yeah. I mean, newsflash, the guy's a scumbag, but we knew that, like, over a year ago. The only question was, how far do the tentacles of scumbaggery extend? And again, common sense, I think, would tell most reasonably thinking people that if he was so cavalierly doing this about Karen while he was investigating her, and if he was so comfortable enough, and this is real important, talking to your high school buddies is one thing, but the fact that he felt such a level of comfort to send messages to Buchanan and other troopers about some of this stuff tells you that there is a level of comfort there that they crossed well before, because the last thing you do is on a case like this is just start sending those messages and hoping it doesn't come back and bite you. And then when you started learning about his role in other cases, and I'm sure I said this, I know I said this back then too, was, when you hear him looking for nudes, you're naturally going to speculate, well, what about Anna Walsh?
Yes. Another
Not
beautiful woman.
Let me be very clear. This is purely the thought process back then, which is only stronger now. And we don't know. I mean, and if you see his lawyers jump up and down, screaming and yelling, you might get an idea. But, the point is, if he's looking through her devices, she was presumably murdered and chopped up. She's an attractive young woman, right? Can you imagine him, going through her phone, looking for nudes? I can. That doesn't shock me in the least. But, you talk about the stuff about, sexual assault victims or alleged victims. Who knows what he's sharing besides names and whatnot. But the real problem here is going to be the impact it has on specific cases. I mean, he has taken what probably, and again, lawyers don't like to talk like this because due process, fairness, trials, but this King case is fascinating because at least the way it's been presented, as far as what little I know about it, it strikes you as closer to an open and shut kind of homicide.
Yes.
A complicated situation like Karen's. And, there have been other things that have been said about this guy where he had Facebook posts of, stacks of cash, pointing guns. He doesn't seem like a model citizen. Okay.
Right.
Maybe a public safety threat, if you will. Okay.
Yes.
As opposed to some of these other kinds of cases. And if he's guilty and there's credible evidence of his guilt and it was procured fairly and honestly and legally, then he ought to be convicted and go to prison, for the rest of his life. If there isn't evidence, or there is reasonable doubt, or the evidence is tampered with, or it's not credible, then the way the system works is he shouldn't. Okay.
Right.
And the reality is, Proctor's racism, again, assuming that this will come out, and it's been reported by, sources have told CBS News, so clearly there are racial things. And clearly you've seen in some of the filings where they talk about having to give this to King's defense. You start connecting dots. I think it's worth assuming that it probably relates to him. That is a wrench in that case, depending on how important Proctor was or wasn't, that can screw the whole thing up. And if nothing else, it is just rocket fuel for the defense to use to potentially distract or deflect from, the evidence that would establish this guy's guilt or not. I mean, it is such a problem that the prosecution is going to have to deal with in at least that case, and certainly many others.
Yeah, and the specific mentioning of another 4 cases, I remember in reading the motion from the Commonwealth, and it's just, I was questioning, or I'm hearing a pushback, right? Because there are still defenders, ardent defenders of Michael Proctor, and that is just Twitter, of course, the Twitter lawyers, and still saying you don't know what's in there. Yeah. You don't know what's in there. How dare you leap? And I said, oh, clearly you're never going to get through. But
but you do know what's in there. You know that he and his family member were musing aloud about hoping that a criminal defendant would end her life.
Yep.
You know that he was in a best case scenario, joking about looking for nudes. In a worst case scenario, was looking
for nudes.
You know that he was revealing horrible things about, her medical things that certainly should not have been the subject of gossip between other people. You know that he was smearing the attorneys, which, maybe that's less offensive, whatever. But you know that he's just a dirtbag. And the idea that, well, what if people looked at your phone and, everyone in life, number one, this is a police officer. Okay.
Amen.
He is duty sworn and has a badge and a gun and is sworn to uphold the law and conduct investigations. So anyone who tries to compare a private citizen and a police officer, it's a little different. But number two, you know, I don't think if anybody looks at your phone or my phone, they're going to start finding, you know, thousands of.
Oh, hello.
And oop, what happened?
I don't know. I got you though now.
Okay. No, I'm on the right network. I just checked. So yeah, I mean, look,
It's definitely me, Mr. Bederow. Whatever it was definitely me. I'm sorry.
so I don't know how anyone could seriously defend him. And the problem with the Twitter lawyers is this: they don't know how to like marshal evidence and think like real lawyers. There is a difference between real lawyers and Twitter lawyers, and it comes into play in this. You can sit there and attempt to justify, well, Proctor's just boy being boy, talking to his buddies, saying stupid things. Well, guess what? There are real life consequences. Okay, Myles King may very well be a cold-blooded murderer who shot someone in the head in the middle of the street, or maybe he didn't. I don't know, but either way, that's kind of a big deal that has to be adjudicated. And if this guy is making racial comments about him during the course of the investigation of him, that is potentially devastating to Proctor's credibility and calls into question everything he did investigatively. So you can't separate the impact that it will have on an actual case, okay? You start thinking, why didn't he turn over these search warrants? Why didn't I mean, it all starts to tie together. And even if he conducted the investigation properly, and he's just privately a closet racist, and he's able to bifurcate his racism privately while doing his good investigation, don't assume a jury's going to see it that way when it's pretty clear that Proctor's character is to be racist, potentially homophobic, misogynist. You could go, I mean, he offends everyone. I mean, he's an equal opportunity offender of all, apparently. But he's talking about people potentially that he's investigating. If you can't see at the Twitter Law School the seriousness and the impact that can have on a jury who has to decide guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, then you're missing the boat here. And the only way out of it for the DA, and they may very well have a way out of it, I don't know, is that he's just not that important to the case. But then you have, what real lawyers do, which Twitter lawyers may not do, is also consider how far has this cancer metastasized? Because the next question is, who is he sending the messages to? Okay, if these messages are going to people in the state police and they're not reporting it, or they're laughing, or they're giving the Buchanan thumbs up, no nudes, or they're doing all these other things, well, now they're getting dragged into it, and the whole investigation is becoming potentially compromised. The whole institution is being embarrassed, and their credibility as a whole. I mean, these are things that real lawyers will focus on, and a jury will also consider. So there's a lot more here well, he's talking in private, and who cares? If they're investigating you someday, Twitter lawyer, for some crime, and you're you could take your pick, a woman, a black man, a gay man, whoever, and you're being investigated by somebody like him, and during the investigation, he's constantly talking about how much he hates you, or mocking you, and joking about his, things that could impact the investigation. I think we would all agree that person is not fit to be investigating. It's really not that complicated.
No, they're not. And there is a standard that needs to be met, and ethics, and you need to uphold that. And here is the thing that I truly relate to, is that when I hear the people saying, well, they should have never gone through, this is his personal cell phone. My nurse, Kim, is a real nurse in real life. I don't play one on YouTube. My cell phone, God forbid, there was a medical malpractice, a criminal case, if somebody, if there was an unattended death, my phone would be open to, if I was taking care of a patient and there was a reason to look into it. And I have seen it in other cases. There was a Maya Kowalski case it was a civil suit, but down in Florida, and it was a huge case. The doctors were texting each other privately about a mother in this case, right? They said that she had like Munchausen by proxy, the daughter, and the mother ended up taking her own life because she thought that was the only way to get her daughter back. Tragic tale or story. And actually, she ended up getting the largest settlement in Florida state history for a civil suit, over $220 million. But the fact of the matter was that these doctors were texting and talking shit and said, if we don't give access to this mother, I think she might kill herself. And then she killed herself. Like, these are things that should be taken very, very seriously. You would never, HIPAA wise, just for a registered nurse and for anyone in the medical field, not to be providing information about your patients. That is the same applicable and in nature to Michael Proctor on an active friggin' police investigation that within the first 8 hours, Mr. Bederow, specifically just because I know the deets of Karen's case, that he was texting that same night, January 22nd of 2022, 10 o'clock at night. He's sitting back with his feet up, or not really, I don't know, I just made that up, but talking, telling a lot of things that were not public information, providing them to civilians, giving it all away, and that it was your job to investigate. It was your job to ensure that there is justice for Officer John O'Keefe. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, you're just a gossip and a mean one at that, with malice, and like are making these unbelievably insensitive, inappropriate, and no place in our law enforcement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, where do you even begin with this? I mean, there's really two things with Proctor, to follow up on what you said. Number one, where he's sharing, confidential investigative information with his buddies and gossiping. That's one of the reasons he was fired. Go ahead and look at his termination paperwork. That is a specification for his termination. That's number two. And, this is, again, for the Twitter lawyers, who, some of them are probably hate watching, and we'll clip this later and whatever. This is the problem with them. Okay. Well, it's his personal phone. Okay, that's true. But that is a distinction without a difference. And this is why you are Twitter lawyers and not understanding of how Rule 14 in Massachusetts, or how Brady, under the U.S. Supreme Court, or Giglio, also under the U.S. Supreme Court, works, and what a prosecutor's obligations to disclose discoverable and or exculpatory, meaning favorable evidence, even if it impacts the credibility of a witness, is. And it goes down to this. The prosecution's obligation to disclose evidence relates to discoverable or exculpatory evidence that is, and this is the term of art, within their possession, custody, or control. Okay? A police officer cannot hide and avoid a prosecution's disclosure obligations because I'm on my personal cell phone. So if I have critical evidence that would help the defense, I'll just switch from my work phone to my private phone and tell them, privately what's going on. So therefore they'll never know. It doesn't work that way. Okay.
Right.
The police officer in that situation is obligated, and the prosecutor is obligated under Rule 14 to make an inquiry of the police. Do they have any evidence in their possession, custody, or control, which it means the possession, custody, and control of the prosecution. And by the way, when there is evidence on a prosecution witness's phone who is a police officer, it may not literally be in the prosecutor's actual possession, but it's in the police officer's actual possession. It's in his custody, and it's in the prosecution's control.
Yes.
So you can't avoid disclosure obligations because it's on a private cell phone. Okay.
Right.
So hear me loudly, Twitter lawyers. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. And the answer is you have to turn it over affirmatively. And you can't whine later when evidence comes to light, which somehow results in some law enforcement agency going behind the curtain, getting legal process to access your phone, and fines over things that you, in the first instance, were obligated to, but did not disclose. And all that Proctor crap that came out, presumably from the federal investigation originally and worked its way and was turned over, pursuant to a TUI request and all of that, that stuff should have been disclosed in the first instance. Okay. That's a failure by the DA and by default by Proctor, who just doesn't turn it over. So the fact that he does this on his private phone doesn't do anything. And if anything, it's actually more incriminating that he's talking about official business on his private phone with his buddies, because it shows his intent to conceal by not putting it on his work phone, because he's trying to avoid disclosure, subpoena, FOIA requests, and whatnot. And you've heard discussion in other cases of certain, witnesses, if that's the right word, saying they're going to talk to special prosecutors on private cell phones to avoid FOIA disclosures. We'll leave that alone for now. But the point is, when these people scream and yell, it's his private phone. So what? That's not how the law works. So get a clue or go to law school. The Twitter law school correspondence courses don't teach you how a prosecutor's obligations to disclose evidence work. It's a very different ballgame in a real DA's office,
right,
in a courtroom with statutes and case law than there is in a Twitter post.
Amen. Amen. And like, that is just, that's the crux of it. And we do know large, vast categories. Clearly there are going to be, or there has been, protective orders requested, right? Or by the prosecution, right? So that they want to have this all sealed for now. Do you think that we'll be able to see it, or that we would be able to know what happened, Mr. Bederow, or no?
Yes, but to be fair to the prosecutors who are seeking these protective orders, there are things that should not see the light of day. The name of the alleged
victim, yes,
that has to be protected.
Right.
The nude images of a non-consenting third party should not be publicly seen.
Right.
So when they just seek a protective order for now to, block all of this, look, this is part of the whole Massachusetts culture of, impound and protect everything, which I understand. I'm still shocked at how it works culturally.
I know.
Court proceedings have a presumption of openness, but there are things that, should not be seen. Private phone numbers, private contact information. If he snapshotted, Facebook information from people, unless it's directly relevant, there ought to be things that shouldn't see the light of day. But to be clear, nothing, redactions exist for a reason. Short of that kind of stuff, Proctor should receive no quarter. I mean, he should be, and the reason is it's relevant in these cases. His credibility in any case in which he's a witness or an important investigative asset to them, or has any role, and where his credibility is in matter, lawyers are allowed to discredit prosecution witnesses in cases. So this will come out, absolutely. I mean, if Myles King is tried and there are racist messages about him, you better believe they're going to come out. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. And that makes sense. And I think that there just is no room for this behavior. There's no room for racism. There's no room for sexism. There's no room for sexual harassment, potentially, of defendants or victims or witnesses. There's just no place for that. And my question to you is, when this is all said and done, is it possible that additional Mass State Police potentially in that troop, who, like you're saying, I'm just saying, if they were, hypothetically, if they were connected, and like you said, if we see who else was receiving this, right? Receiving this information, and what the reactions are, would that trigger a look into potentially other players?
Well, definitely. I mean, depending on what was received and what was done in response. I mean, you could get, if you're a fellow state trooper involved in these cases, and you hypothetically get a message from Proctor that's just outrageous, whether it be racist, homophobic,
Yep.
misogynist, corrupt, whatever. And I mean, there were various options for you in getting the message. You can read it and do nothing and say, my God, this guy's a piece of garbage, but I can't even like process what happened.
Yep.
You could respond in agreement or laughing or condoning, which would be bad. You could respond in a critical way and say, what the hell's the matter with you? What are you doing? Or you could, go up the chain, up the flagpole to someone and say, look, I'm, not, I don't want to be a rat, but, we have a state police trooper. Look what he's doing here. I imagine it's possible if these messages were sent to other troopers who don't share his views, could they have told black troopers, look at this guy, look who we work with? I don't know. So there are layers to this. And certainly any state trooper who received these messages and didn't report it, or at a minimum criticize it, could potentially be subject to punishment. I mean, you saw Tully and Buchanan were punished for their lack of doing anything really with regard to Proctor's messages about Karen's case. And
Yeah.
Buchanan was even worse than Tully. I mean, he's given the thumbs up, right? I mean, and frankly, his testimony about what he said at his second trial, in my view, was just flat out perjury. I was acknowledging receiving the message. I mean, give me a break.
Stop.
Yeah. I mean, just seriously, cut it out.
Yeah.
Just you're a joke. But Fanning got off because he said, well, I was on vacation. I don't even remember getting it. In these kinds of messages, that's going to be tough if they went to state troopers to say, I don't remember getting the racist and homophobic messages from Proctor about a murder defendant he was investigating. And again, if they responded, but we're speculating because we don't know what was sent to whom and how it was dealt with. But all you know is this, okay? Up until about a week or two ago, the state police the union, not the state police, were terminated him and were advocating his termination.
Yeah.
The union was giving a full-throated endorsement for him being restored to active duty. Okay.
Yeah.
They became aware of some of these messages. Now, I'm assuming the way this happened is that his lawyer, who's a union lawyer, became aware of these messages and realized he had two problems. Number one, we're cooked. All right. Like, he's not getting his job back. Number two, he embarrassed me. He made me look like a fool by representing they wouldn't find anything. And number three, I'm assuming the lawyer was personally just appalled at what he was seeing and said, this is just outrageous. And I'm assuming because the union is paying for the lawyer, he went to the union executive board. Okay.
Yeah.
And had a discussion, which led the union executive board to just like that shift and say, this guy's a disgrace and he's got to go and we no longer support him. So that's all we really know. And then you see the breadcrumbs in these filings: racist, homophobic, intimate images, sex assault, alleged victims. But what you do know is that a union who up until a week or two ago was 100% in his corner and trying to restore this clown to active duty, abandoned him and pushed him over the cliff immediately. And that tells you this is really, really bad.
Absolutely. And I think that is important for us to understand. I know that you said that the teachers union, which thank you for always teaching me. I can always learn something new from Mr. Bederow. But I know personally that the police union is incredible in a lot of circumstances. My father has benefited from the mass police, union. And there are really great advocacy that happens for police officers. They're the representation of the officer. Now, This was a huge step, though, Mr. Bederow, because this was a unanimous vote to absolutely, like you said, drop like a hot potato, which leads me to believe that if they knew everything from the first extraction, from trial 1 and trial 2 of Karen Reed, this new extraction comes down the pike. We know that we know the overarching categories that are involved, but for them to take that specific vote and a unanimous, not one board member, not one, everyone, and that is rare. It's incredible. Like, this does not happen. You recognize that, right? Like like for them to all say, Stugatz, no more, I refuse. Like, he sleeps with the fishes now. We want nothing to do with him. That is wild to me.
Oh.
And with the lawyer appointed as well.
It's complicated. I mean, like, who is a union serve? The membership, okay?
Yes.
The membership goes beyond Proctor. And so you get a situation where,
Oh,
again, we don't know. So we have to be careful. We're going on published reports.
yep.
Any published reports at this point. Suppose, hypothetically, Proctor is sending racist messages about racist state, criticizing black state troopers. Okay. Attacking them. All right. Now you're the union. Well, guess who else is a member of the union? Those black troopers. Okay.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you just, and again, whatever else is going on here, you just say, we can't defend this guy. I mean, there was the only other time I've ever seen a union abandon a detective was actually in case I had like about 9 years ago.
Oh.
So I represented a New York City detective who was accused of raping a young woman that he had arrested in a Brooklyn park. Okay. She was arrested for marijuana. And this guy and his partner, this was a huge, big deal in New York, like 9 years ago, like tabloid wood stuff all the time. And they were accused of basically arresting this girl in a Brooklyn park and saying, you know, you're going to go to jail, or, you know, there's another way out of this, and, you know, violently raping her, whatever. It was all on. It was all on. Okay. But something happened. Okay. There was all kinds of DNA. Okay. Which would be consistent with sexual activity between on-duty police officers and a woman who admittedly was in custody, which is a problem. Okay. But the allegation was that these two guys violently raped her and held her, drove her around, you know, South Brooklyn for 40 minutes, raping her, taking turns, all this stuff. So you can imagine there was a huge outcry. And when, you know, of course, this being, you know, the Brooklyn DA and the NYPD, you know, they leak it to the New York Post that the DNA was recovered. And now these guys are, you know, terrible rapists and should die and this and that. Originally, the detectives union, because it's what unions do, defended these guys, right? Like that's right. Just, even though they had, well, the other guy had union counsel at the time. My guy had private counsel, obviously. But when the DNA came out, the unions like said, we're not paying, like we're done.
Yeah.
You're on your own. And that was regrettable only because we ended up having all the rape charges dismissed on the motion of the DA because they begrudgingly finally admitted that the witness had perjured herself about 90% of this, that she had lied. And ironically, a lot of the evidence that we used was cell phone records, like 10 years before all the Karen stuff, because they didn't go where she claimed. And it's a long story. I won't give you all those details. But what in fact had happened is that the young lady got arrested and said, what do I do to get out of this? And basically volunteered services, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
And these two guys gave in.
Idiots. Yeah.
Well, and they pled guilty, by the way, to what they were guilty of. Ultimately, after the rape indictment got dismissed, they pled guilty to accepting a bribe, which they did. They did. there was, that the defense was they did what they did, but they were falsely accused. But the union had abandoned them, and that was regrettable because they were not rapists. Now, after this case, New York actually changed the law of rape to what constitutes consent. And, this case actually made new law in New York where a prisoner, as a matter of law, can no longer consent to any sexual activity with a police officer. It is, even if she says, absolutely, I want this, as a matter of law, that is not deemed consent. That would be an unlawful encounter because of the power structure and all of that. But that was not the case at the time. But that was the case too, where the only other case I've seen where the union basically said, whoa, like, rape of a teenager. Oh my God, this is horrible. You're embarrassing us. And it turned out it was 100% bullshit. We proved it.
Yeah, no. And I feel like a long time ago, and this might be a hot take, but I feel like there have been maybe things like as a tale as old as time since policing, right? That like I think that they're like someone will say, can you get out of a situation? I have benefited from not that, but a professional courtesy, they used to call it, right? Like if I was going, God forbid, which the Lowell connector will be the death of me. I have had too many tickets on the Lowell connector in my day. And sometimes I would get a nice officer who I was just trying to, whatever. I was on my way. I had things to do and I couldn't, goes from 50 or 45 to a 30 real quick. And they're always there with a trap. So duh, it 10 years later, you dummy. But anyway, if they would see that was me or I had a badge on, that sometimes someone would say, oh, come on, Kim, slow down. Do you know what I mean? And like, oh, consider it a professional courtesy because I was a nurse or they saw a stethoscope or whatever, they saw my bag. So I feel like now it hasn't happened in a long time, but those were kind of maybe more frequent back in the olden days where if you knew who you knew or how you, or maybe what job you were in, like firefighters, nurses, maybe doctors, but yeah, doctors, they would maybe get out of a speeding ticket that other people would have to pay. Is that true?
Well, yeah. I remember this when, when I was just in the DA's office, one of the first things you did, you got a gold shield and you got a special wall and you're like, I'm carrying a gold shield. And I have no doubt. I mean, I didn't drive at the time. Do you have any doubt that any time, even like a young prosecutor was pulled over, that as they open their wallet, the gold shield somehow displays itself? Or the other thing, a lot of what the NYPD would hand out as candy back then, and everybody took them, were PBA cards. The union, the PBA, the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, that's like the police officer union. And then they have the sergeant's union, the detective endowment, the DEA. And they would just give you all these cards. And I mean, what are they? They're courtesy cards.
Courtesy. Yeah.
That's what they are. And if you ever drive around, like, for example, the way they do it in New Jersey, you'll see a million cars driving around in New Jersey, which have like a cheesy little shield thingy in the window, which is basically saying, give me a break. I mean, look, that happens every day, everywhere. I don't think anybody's particularly looks at that as a big deal, as opposed to like bona fide and investigative conflicts on serious criminal cases, as opposed to, I mean, cops have a lot of discretion in giving traffic tickets and things like that. I mean, to me, that's a whole different animal than, what we're talking about, what Proctor's doing. Right. And I know that we'll have to stay tuned on this, and it is going to, I feel, I did want to say publicly though, that no matter what I felt about Michael Proctor, about finding him despicable and finding the things that he had done to Karen beyond egregious, in my opinion. Now seeing what else is coming out, it is just, God only knows where this will go. But yep. just say it's not just Karen. I mean, like even in our situation, I mean, we filed a motion Friday about Proctor. I don't even think it's docketed yet or publicly available, which is going to be followed with a supplement this week because of all the developing news, which comes after, sometimes that happens. But anybody that has a case in which Proctor,
Yes.
where his credibility is relevant, or you're attacking the integrity of the investigation in which he's part of, it's not just King, it's not just Walsh, it's not just Karen, it's not just Aiden. These are going to be coming, and this is never going to stop. And what's regrettable would be, I mean, this is putting the DA in a really bad position, and it'll be very interesting to see how they react to all of these motions, because what any prosecutor should do is, short of the redactions that we spoke about that would release non-combatants' personal information or things that need not be shared with the public, contact information, that sort of thing, the appropriate action for the DA at this point is to take the Proctor evidence, shove it to the middle of the table, and say, here it is. We're being transparent. We know what our ethical obligations are. We recognize that his credibility is an issue, and turn it over and let individual defendants determine how, if at all, this impacts their case. And it doesn't mean that the prosecution is agreeing that the evidence would be admissible, or any particular evidence would be admissible in every case. But they don't get to decide what the defense might find useful or not. Okay. And when they fight it, they're doing that. They should shove it to the middle, let the defendants have it. If you have to put it under a protective order, so be it, whatever. But the defendants get to decide. And then in any particular case, if you think it's not relevant or unfair, then you file a motion in limine, or what some of you call motions in lemonade, or whatever. It's motion in limine. That's how lawyers describe it.
Yes,
where you could try to preclude the evidence because it's not relevant and its probative value is substantially outweighed by its prejudice and blah, blah, blah. But the only appropriate response for the DA at this point is to throw it all out there to every lawyer in a case in which Proctor has his dirty little fingers in the pie somehow, some way, and let them decide how, if at all, to use it, and then you respond accordingly. But doing this on a case by case, we'll give it to this lawyer, but not that one. And trust us as the DA, trust us to know what's discoverable and what's not.
Yeah.
Why would anybody at this point trust the Norfolk DA's office to say what's discoverable, what's exculpatory, and what's not? You burn that bridge years
long ago. Yep.
You're just not credible, and you're not the one to decide what has use for the defense or not. And this would be the best PR move as well as the appropriate legal move. Just shove it out there. Stop hiding things.
Absolutely. Duh. And it's so interesting to me that this is not Monday morning quarterbacking about things. It is actually saying, in my humble opinion, that wake up. And there has to be just this opening of, let's have a moment of our transparency from an office. And if you don't, then the ramifications and the snowball will continue. And as always, the fish rots at the head. And Michael Morrissey, you are where the buck stops in that office, right?
Michael Morrissey is the guy who in August of 23 got up and gave the ridiculous defense of who he was without either knowing anything or alternatively just lying about it. I'm assuming he got bad information just about the relationship, whatever. He's never accounted for that statement. He's never corrected the record. There's reason to believe he's been supportive of Proctor, as others have during this whole process. I'm not suggesting that even Morrissey at this point would defend him. I mean, it's indefensible. But at the end of the day, stop hiding evidence that ought to be disclosed to anyone who's entitled to it. And if Proctor's credibility is an issue in the eyes of various defense attorneys, they're entitled to this evidence. We're allowed to make a case, make an argument. We're allowed to argue about the integrity of the investigation and if he's involved in it and whatnot, and then just case by case argue against its relevance. But what the hell are you hiding what this is at this point?
Yeah, it's Chinatown, Jake. Okay, is what it is.
It is, and this is an issue at this point, which really is larger than the DA's office. I mean, there has to be somebody else separate and apart from them involved in this process, because this is the other problem. That office is so incestuous. It's built for corruption. I mean, it is a nesting ground for corruption when you have a certain number of, 5 to 10 detectives who are quite literally embedded in the office and are buddy with all the prosecutors, and they donate money to the DA and they hang out and they do this. How can you have the prosecutors police their friends?
You can't.
The perfect example of this is the testimony you saw a couple of months ago in that ridiculous King case. Lally's ridiculous. The guy couldn't have cared less that Proctor was jerking him off, giving him all this evidence, search warrants in a murder case. Well, he gave me 2 pages, but not the rest. And I don't know. And I don't know. He couldn't have cared less.
Yeah.
That all he did in that testimony was evince a prosecutor who's unfit for his job and a state police detective who's unfit for his job. That's what they accomplished in that testimony. But this is the culture of too close for comfort, too friendly in that office. And it is a breeding ground for subtle corruption, not corruption where they, go to a dirty bar, dimly lit, and hand envelopes across the table. That's not how most corruption works. Most corruption is a wink and a nod, and it is a tolerance of sliding and bending the rules as a professional consideration because we're all friends. That's the kind of corruption that you generally see between the state police and the DA, not the classic payoff corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, perfect segue, if possible, to Aiden and to this week's incredible wins. Oh, go. Sorry.
I need my coffee refill.
Oh,
We're
on a coffee break, lovies. We know. Oh, what do I have? We know exactly what we'll do. She's getting ready for something. Gonna do a little boop, 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 ba-doo.
I'm a Lamborghini. I'm a Hollywood star. I'm a little bit tipsy when I drive my car. I'm expensive sushi. I'm a cute yacht. I'm a little bit single, even when I'm not. I'm a little bit of la 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 la. A little bit of Lexus.
I know something's weird, and now I know it. That's why your whole jug is out. I understand. I thought this was happening. Y'all are running game.
Her jugs are just out because this is what they normally are doing.
Yuck, Jesse. What y'all are doing right now is gross.
Not us. So we do a little.
Suspicious, don't be suspicious.
John Ralphio? Gone!
Lovies, we're waiting for Mr. Bederow. But when he gets back, I did want to say, oh, can you hear me? Okay. Guess what I'm going to play? I don't know if you know this, but Toy from Rat House Media, she's incredible. She is a queen of all queens, and she has made a Nurse Kim Creed. Okay? It's a banger. It's potentially summer 2026. I don't know what we're doing, but I've been singing it for 24 hours. And it is on YouTube. And when Mr. Bederow bids us adieu, I'm going to play it. I got a song made for me, Mr. Bederow.
You did?
Yeah, it's a banger. Okay. It's talking about clutching. It's talking about clenching. Might have been a word of a Kegel in there. It's the best song I've ever heard. Could be, did Taylor Swift write it? I don't know. No, it was Toy from Rat House Media, and she's incredible. And she's just a magic. So anyway, you're back. You're coffeeed up. Are we Zabaring today?
No, today is Lavazza.
Oh, Lavazza.
No.
I don't know what that is because I drink Diet Coke or tea, so not for me. But where is the Lavazza from?
Italy, I think.
Oh, do you know my mother's in Italy?
No.
Well, no, Noni is in Italy. She went to Messina. Well, she's everywhere. She's doing she flew there and then she cruised. So when she cruised into the port, I told everybody this. Sorry, I'm going to tell you though, because you're my friend. When she got to Messina, that's where we're from. We're Sicilian. And they saw her maiden name and they said, welcome home. And and then she's crying and then she's sending me a voice note. And I'm like, listen, we're not related to the Port Authority, man. What, ma'am? And then she is like, I'm going to our cousins. I go, they don't know you. She goes, I'm going to our cousins. They go, and she ate there. I think she ate there. They made food for my mother because she's their cousin.
I'm like, to go to Corleone, right? And scream in the hills. If anybody is looking for Vito Andolini. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So there is that. And then also just before we get on to our next topic, have to bring to the point that you're wearing a Kowloon Saugus Mass sweatshirt.
I am.
Okay. I've got just my 1987 Boston. Love this brand. It's a female owned company out of Boston, clearly 1987, not 89. And this girl, she's a lady who makes all of this, comfort wear. It's so good. But when did we go? When we went to Kowloon together, who was with us? Do you remember?
I do.
Could you say who was with us?
I believe I had some family with us.
You did?
Mike Crawford, I think, was with us.
He was.
And I believe Massa was with us, wasn't he? Or did he not go that night?
Nope. You guys have gone plenty of times, but the time that I got to go, I was with Mrs. Bederow or Mama Bederow, and also with who we call the good Auntie Bev. Now, did I or did I not get an email this week from the good Auntie Bev that said I would love to me and Mama Bederow would love to teach Nurse Kim how to play bagel. So I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm putting it in for my Christmas wish list that I am playing bagel, which is a card game with Mama Bederow and with the good Auntie Bev. Where Mr. Bederow is during this time, I don't know. Okay. I don't know, but I'm learning.
I encourage this outing, but I don't think I'll be there for that outing.
Well, it's happening. It's all happening.
It's a nice girls event. So you'll have fun. You'll all have fun.
That's all right. And then you know what? The next time I see you, then I'll just whoop your ass in bagel. Okay. Because I'll know how to play.
There you go. You just be careful. They take their bagel very seriously. So
serious bagel players. I am going to also be a serious bagel player. Transition. Boom. Here we go. The relation to Proctor's text coming out, you hinted to maybe sending filing a motion that hasn't been docketed quite yet on something.
Said it's filed. We did.
It is filed. It hasn't been, but we haven't received it yet. It hasn't been made to all of us.
How they docket and release and whatever is way out of my bailiwick. It's filed.
Got it. And are we able to talk about that or no until it comes out?
It's just a motion compelling production of what they have revealed about Proctor because it's relevant to our defense, because Proctor's credibility matters.
Huge.
It's in your actual possession and we want it. And without getting into too much detail, we asked for it the polite way and didn't get it the polite way. So we do it the other way, so you file a motion to compel and let a judge decide. And whatever it is, it is.
Yes. Okay. And also, what a Wednesday. Okay. It felt bewitching. It felt magical. It felt like something that you see when I get a tweet or I see something that says Noel Pross for the 2024 case against Aiden Carney, journalist, that this has been dropped. And basically, what a momentum. And we knew that there was going to be a recusal or a step back from special appointed prosecutor Robert Cosgrove on that case, because he had been sued by the witness in that case. And however, for it to be completely dropped, and then looking at the 2023 case, it only makes sense, Mr. Bederow, that he would have to be out of, or be taken out of that as well. And then also, because of the witness's involvement, how on this God's green earth does it go forward? It can't.
I don't know. They're opposing the disqualification on the 2023 case, which of course extends to the 2025 investigation in which they're trying to get into phones. That's really the same case. It's the same fact pattern. Ostensibly they were supposed to file a motion that was due, or a response to our lengthy motion Monday, but and I saw that this was publicly docketed, so they know how to docket faster than I do, which is fine. But around 5 o'clock on Friday, they have sought an extension to respond to our motion for any number of reasons, and this is public. It's online, and one of the reasons is the length of the motion, other things, but also that they claim that they have recently been provided quote unquote relevant information from Ken Mello in the last week, which somehow matters. I don't know what that means. We'll find out. But
Ken Mello.
The larger point is this. I don't know why you have to back up. When the witness sued the prosecutor, the lead detective, and threatened to sue the DA's office itself, that is something during the pendency of a criminal prosecution. That is something that in close to 30 years I've never seen, and expect I'll never see again. And I assume anyone watching has never seen. And I'm assuming if you talk to any other lawyer and add up their hundreds of years of experience, they'll tell you we've never seen anything like this. When that happened, it was obvious to us immediately that he can't continue on the 2024 case, because the prosecutor, the individual, his interests are different than the prosecution as a whole, including adverse to the witness who's suing him. And you can't have a situation where he is examining that witness, or examining even Tully, who is a civil co-defendant now with the prosecutor. Okay, they are co-defendants. It's in their mutual interest to destroy the credibility of the witness who sued them. He can't comment on these people's credibility in the criminal case. By doing that, he's in essence giving unsworn testimony. He's advocating a position that may be interpreted to be personal, or could be conflicted. Anybody can see the conflict in that situation, including them. So they never disputed that, and in fact walked into court and said, I need to withdraw. Now, where the issue, or the confusing issue, at least to me, comes is on the 2023 case. If we all agree and recognize intellectually and analytically that I can't prosecute a case in which this person is a witness because I can't examine her, I can't do this, our interests are adverse, she's accusing me of misconduct, blah, blah, blah. This individual is a witness in the 2023 case, which we can get to in a minute. Now, in the 24 case, as far as I can see, the only distinction is that she was the alleged victim in that case. She was, the named, by their definition, victim in the case, which is not the case in the 2023 case. But again, it's the second time we're using this phrase today, but that's another distinction without a difference. The issue is not whether the person is a witness, a likely witness, an alleged victim. The point is, we have laid out the circumstances in which, at the 2023 case, if it were to be tried, that this individual is almost certainly going to be a witness. Her credibility is almost certainly going to be an issue. And this prosecutor, because of what she has done to him, to Tully and the DA's office, cannot be in a position to be in the muck with her credibility. I mean, there could be a situation at the 2023 trial where this individual.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Nurse Kim dropped me off a tea. Woo!
All right.
Sorry.
Where this individual could be testifying, whether as a prosecution or defense witness, and we would be in a situation where we would be going down a lengthy track record in which this witness has lied and falsified and created circumstances which are not true in order to make herself appear to be a victim when evidence has been corrupted, misused, and easily proven to be false.
Right.
One of those situations would be examining this prospective witness about the lawsuit she filed against the prosecutor, Tully, and the threat to the DA. Now, picture the absurdity at a trial in front of a jury. The name Tully has been bandied about 100 times at this trial. And then you get to the part where there's examination about suing the prosecutor. And not just the prosecutor, but standing in a courtroom and saying, that guy sitting right there, the one who's been arguing to the jury, him, that guy, Mr. Cosgrove, you see him. That's the guy you sued. That's the guy you accuse of intentionally violating your rights. And that's what he did, right? So it raises a couple of questions. The conflicts are all over the place. Now, the prosecutor can't testify and rebut this. But if he cross-examines her and tries to discredit, it's in essence unsworn testimony doing the same thing. He can't argue in summation about her credibility. It's giving unsworn testimony. He can't differentiate between her credibility and Tully's credibility because it's giving unsworn testimony.
Yes.
And the other question is, why would you even want to put yourself in this position, even if you could? But so recognizing all of this, then you get to the point, which is, well, why is she a witness? Well, she's a witness because they interviewed her in December, and this is all public record. This is
of course
filed during the pendency of the grand jury investigation that led to the 2023 indictment. In December of 2023, Tully and the special prosecutor's investigator interviewed this witness specifically about the allegations that were serving as the grand jury's investigation. You have to understand, that's on December 14th. The incident that everybody talks about that led to the 2024 issue hasn't even happened yet.
Yes.
That was on the 23rd or thereabouts.
Christmas Eve. Yeah, right.
Interview on the 14th. So this interview is, what do you do? I thought the dog was going to do something on the floor. We don't want that. Go lie down. That interview was about the subject matter of the existing grand jury. Okay. Now that interview followed a bunch of other stuff, which we won't get into too much detail of, a lot of conversations with a lot of people, including Tully, including Mello, including other people that the alleged witness befriended specifically because they hated the client and aligned. And had a lot of discussions on how to be a witness, and you've heard about all that in the past. But the subject matter of that interview, which is public, it's a filed exhibit, was about, tell us about your knowledge of a relationship between Aiden and Karen. How do they communicate? Do they use a third party? Do they use messaging apps? What has he told you? Does she control him? This is all what they're trying to use to indict the two of them for witness intimidation. Okay. There's all this discussion about, you've heard about this, tell us what you know about Karen or her family buying a Lexus. Whatever. I mean, we can roll our eyes while it is, but that's where they got that evidence from. They sought those subpoenas and got records based on what
Unbelievable.
Right? So that was on December 14th. She then got a grand jury subpoena to testify in that grand jury. It's styled under that investigation. The date for the return of the subpoena is the date they told that existing grand jury there would be more evidence. Okay. And she got that subpoena prior to the 23rd incident happening. Okay.
Got it.
There's only two possibilities. One, the subpoena was used as a ruse to lure him into a trap. Now, that's something the DA can never say, right? The abuse of process to literally, they can't do that. So there's only one other possibility. She was subpoenaed because she was a witness who had material information that we wanted to use in the grand jury that led to the 2023 indictment. Now, it turns out she doesn't testify because something else happened. The incident on the 23rd that led to the just dismissed indictment, and he went to jail. And all of a sudden, that urgency seems to have disappeared. We got him. He's in jail. But then comes the famous search warrants for Karen's phones, which you now hear being the point of discussion, right?
Signed by Tully. And this, not
just signed by Tully, sworn to by Tully.
Absolutely.
And there are two major sources of information that were led to that warrant. In other words, there are two informants that he tells the issuing court that I am relying upon for a lot of this information. And one of them is the alleged witness. There's a good 9 or 10 paragraphs of she told us this, and he says she's a witness. She's giving us information. Now, if there's a trial in this, and they relied on her to seek an indictment, which they did, and they later had dismissed, as you know, in March of 2024.
Yep.
Without trying to search the phones. That's a different issue, but we can talk about that after. We're allowed to attack the integrity of that investigation and what led them to even do this. And this alleged victim was a critical part of that.
Yes.
She is involved in that. Okay. We want to know what she told Tully, what it led to. What steps did Tully take to determine in relying upon her about vetting her credibility? Did he know that this alleged victim in the other case and witness in this case had spoken to all of this other cast of characters who were gleefully trying to come up with a plan to jail the guy? Did they know that, this witness, in fact, had conversations with herself on Twitter under two different names, both praising and attacking the guy? These are all things that you want to know. But on top of that, recently, since the lawsuits were filed, you have seen this witness go on a tweet storm, if you will.
Oh.
And make all kinds of serious allegations, which in essence support a lot of the defense.
Yes.
She repeatedly alleges that the lead investigator is corrupt and that she knows that he tampered with her phone and deleted messages. Well, that's kind of relevant to our defense.
Yes, it is.
She has alleged that other civilians who have substantially helped the state police are engaged in shenanigans and may have deleted evidence as we have alleged, that's helpful to the defense. She has alleged that perhaps the most important civilian witness in the 2023 case intimidated and pressured her into cooperating. Well, that's kind of important too, especially when you're accused of witness intimidating that individual. Okay.
Yeah.
She has alleged that that same individual provided benefits to another civilian witness, which could impact all of their credibility. That's kind of important. She has alleged that that civilian witness, I mean, you can't make this up, or maybe you can, who the hell knows, has voodoo dolls of Karen and Aiden at the time this investigation, and others perhaps at the time that this investigation was going on, which would exhibit a motive to lie, to falsely cooperate, and an actual bias in a criminal case. So this is all relevant. So the point is, this individual who was the alleged victim in the 2024 case clearly is a material witness in the 2023 case. So
yeah, no shit.
So how can the prosecutor deal with this, whether it's as a prosecution, defense, or both? How do you negotiate and tell a jury that, you know, Tully is credible, but she's not, or she's lying about, you know, Jennifer McCabe about what she's alleging, or these other people? How do you deal with that? The answer is you can't.
You can't. You can't fairly. You can't. There is no way that you can do that, and it's impossible. It's impossible for Cosgrove to do that.
They ought to, you know, obviously we think he ought to step aside, lay his sword down, and walk away. But whatever. But if this comes out to, you know, a motion response, and then we argue about this December 5th, which I imagine we will, given the way this is going,
I'll be there.
Then okay, well, I'll see you there. Then the way you put this for the court is this: we're giving everybody notice of what's going to happen. All right, and if you let this go, once jeopardy attaches, and jeopardy, you know, everybody knows double jeopardy from, you know, Karen's probably 2 acquittals.
Yes.
Whatever. Jeopardy attaches, you know, when the jury is first juror is sworn, you can't, if there's a mistrial, you can't automatically have a retrial unless there is what's called a manifest necessity for it. And if the prosecutor starts the case knowing, as we're laying out for them, you are walking into a minefield. Here it comes. Okay. We're giving you advance notice. You can't do this. And here's why. Okay. If they blindly walk into that and the court says, okay, you know, we're going to allow this, and this explodes post jeopardy in the middle of trial and puts a situation where the conflict now becomes, you can't deal with it, then the only remedy at that point is you have to protect the criminal defendant's rights, and that needs a mistrial. And if there is a mistrial
with prejudice,
it would be with prejudice, because they're on notice that they're causing it. Okay, their potential conflict, which we're alerting them to, would be the cause. So there is a simple remedy here for them: get a new prosecutor. That's all we're saying. Well, we're saying 2 things.
Or let it go, or
3 things. Okay, that's for them to decide. But we're giving them an exit ramp here. The prosecutor needs to step away, and the only thing we're asking is, when that happens and this case becomes stateless, like the other one did.
Yep.
The other remedy we're seeking is that Morrissey not be allowed or involved in the process of appointing anyone else, because he has a conflict with this witness too, because she's going to sue him too. That's all. And if you can find another lawyer who is willing to stuff taxpayer money in their pocket and jump into this, then God bless you. You're entitled to do that. Another way to do it, like you said, is just walk away.
Yeah. With the small amount of integrity that is that you could maybe cling on to. Now, can you tell me, Mr. Bederow, did you hear, if I caught this right, because I remember I was like in the middle of work and all these things, and I know you jumped on with Queen Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
you heard about this like legit from the media, correct? Like there was not even you and Aiden were not alerted to this prior. It literally just came out and you were like, cool, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, I was on a call, so I was not checking messages. And when I got off, I had messages from the Boston Globe, Mass Live, and somebody else asking for comment on the dismissal, of which I knew nothing about. So yeah, the short answer is this. They told the media before they told the lawyers. Yep.
I would say that it is shocking. It's not, unfortunately. And when it's good news like that, or when it's a news that is deserved, that is just, that is appropriate, I'll say, kind of a little bit of like, whatever, it is what it is, but it's terrible.
And again, I'm just a guest here. Okay. This is not my home court. It's not my legal culture, if you will, but I have never seen a situation, and certainly in an important case, as opposed to like a shoplifting of something from Dwayne Reed, whatever. In a case like this with so much publicity and just involvement, for whatever the word is, where if a decision to dismiss has been made, that there not be a courtesy call to say, listen, I'm just letting you know we're filing this paperwork.
It just like, if you have nothing really for myself to say that is of kindness at that, and when it was a positive for Aiden and his case, I'm going to just try to, zip it a little bit, but just truly showing that there is such a disconnect. I feel it's so disjointed and it doesn't make sense. There is nothing, every twist and turn that I see, or when another layer, you think to yourself, we've got to be at the end of this. I mean, this friggin' onion, okay, is the biggest onion I have ever seen in my 39 years on earth, because when you keep pulling it back, it is more and more and more. And it's just like, how is it possible? But I still feel we're continuing and there's still many more a layer to go.
I mean, you'd have to ask them, obviously.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's not the way to do it. The only thing I could rationalize from their perspective is that this guy is in their head so bad, and they're so constantly bracing for, loud microphone, that they had a sheer panic of, he'll announce it before we file it. And, if that's their legitimate concern, I still would suggest that, you tell counsel. And if you want to have a discussion and say, can you speak to your client about zipping it until this, then I can tell you that what lawyers would do, because you appreciate the knowledge and courtesy, is you would say, I'll handle that.
Got it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I have one other question that I would just like to ask you regarding this, and it has always bothered me, Mr. Bederow, about the fact that when we go back to the Proctor, because Proctor is named, and so is, I believe, Yuri, correct, in the 2023 case as, whoever, who was allegedly intimidated. But I always go back to Judge Beverly Cannoni and her allowing, initially, there were specific witnesses in Karen Reed's trial that Aiden was prevented from being in the room for journalistic purposes, as he is a journalist. And those were civilian people, i.e. the McCabe's, etc. Now, when it came to Proctor and Yuri, even Judge Beverly Cannoni, who we know as full of baloney on some occasions, she retracted and changed that order and allowed Aiden to be in the, in their room for their testimony, due to the fact of what? They're police officers, they're public servants, they are public officials, and public officials, no offense, but fuck your feelings. When like I'm allowed to criticize you and your work, and you're not allowed to say that hurt me because I said you did a shit investigation, and I believe that you did not do your job in this case. 100% allowed at all times. Does that come into account, or is that able to be used, i.e., like of the dropping, because they're still in the case, aren't they? Or no?
Well, the prosecutor will try to tell you that Proctor and Buchanan, because those counts were dismissed, or we're not dealing with them. I'm here to tell you
That's a lie.
I mean, I know things you don't know, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know.
They're deeply involved in this, and they will be hauled in. And what I can tell you is this: the count against Buchanan, which is on video. I mean, you've all seen it.
Yes,
you've all seen it. Is probably, again, in close to 30 years of practice, one of the most outrageous, disgraceful, pathetic criminal charges I've ever seen, that a police officer would say, walking to his car, getting yelled at by a reporter, asking him questions, and then, sharing some opinions. That's true too.
Yeah.
That somehow that intimidated him and was designed to impact his ability to testify is probably the single most pathetic, outrageous abuse of charging authority that I've ever seen. And what I would suggest is, take Buchanan, take any of these other people, and I'll tell you what we should do. I'll hold your hand and protect you, and we'll walk down the streets of Midtown Manhattan with some uniformed police officers, or better yet, we'll go into some more unsavory neighborhoods. You'll be safe, I promise. And let's walk around and with uniformed police officers, and let's see what is said to them on a daily, constant basis, and what the cops don't do. They don't arrest, they don't engage, they take it, and it sucks. But there is a First Amendment, and there's actually case law in New York about flipping off cops, screaming at them, this and that. This is so ridiculous. I mean, this was outside the courthouse in Dedham. A police officer, he's taking some flack from some people. They're nonviolent. They're not doing anything. They're expressing their views. You're calmly walking to your car. You're packing heat, for Christ's sake. There are other uniformed troopers standing right there who are making no effort to involve themselves, because you know what they're doing? They're monitoring to make sure something doesn't happen. And guess what? Nothing happened.
Ever. Yeah.
But there's also something else, which I think says it all about how ridiculous that one charge is. If you watch that video, okay, if you're supposed to believe that this was intimidating and scary and designed to whatever, when he gets in the car, he rolls the window down. Okay? That is engaging, and that is making yourself more, not less, vulnerable and available.
Of course.
That was designed to engage, and I would suggest also designed to flip the bird while, as kind of a joke while you're on the wheel, and
yes,
to charge that criminally shows you the conflicts that exist and why the state police should not be involved in this investigation. The fact that Tully leads the investigation, knowing his history, the fact that he shows up to supervise the arrest in a bulletproof vest, looking like he's armed for battle. All of this is just ridiculous. Okay. These are charges involving these people that never should have been brought. And you have to understand something else. That Buchanan charge was added after the fact. That happened in, I want to say, September. The arrest was in October. There was no arrest for that. There was no report for that incident until November. Okay? After the arrest and preparing for an indictment. So you know what they did? They then papered and just added that charge because we're piling on.
Absolutely.
That is not a good faith investigation.
No,
That is a corrupt investigation because it is conflicted. Okay.
Yes.
The corruption isn't payoffs and whatever. The corruption in this case is you're conflicted. You hate the guy. Believe me, I understand why you do. But when you're a professional and you hate the target of an investigation, you walk away. You put the emotion to the side. You get non-emotional people and you privately say, I hope they get the MF. Okay. But you don't do it yourself.
Yes.
And to this day, the state police and these people are still the ones doing this. This is insanity.
Yeah, and that is so important, and I feel like that is you breaking that down, just that specific part in that video of that day and that charge shows it all. That's all you need to know.
Evidences the conflict that the state police have more than that, and it's just fat. And this was mentioned in the motion we filed a couple months ago, or a month ago, whatever. But you know, the DA stepped away belatedly, but they stepped away. They recognized they had a conflict. And again, the conflict was this guy calls us corrupt, protests against us, is constantly attacking, da 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 da. So Morrissey says, we're gonna hire, you know, Ken Mello and give him $400,000. We're out. Got your money's worth on that. But that's neither here nor there. But he did have the wherewithal and the self-awareness to say, I can't do this.
Yes.
But the state police in his office, who are the subjects of these same exact attacks, perhaps more so, by the way. I mean, clearly Proctor is like the poster child of this case.
For sure.
Morrissey. They don't walk away. It's the same conflict, if not worse. And they don't walk away. They continue to investigate it. They continue to manufacture these charges like they did with Buchanan. And then you look at it, and what's troubling is when the DA walked away, these state police work in his office. He should have said, you got to come with me. You're out.
Yes.
You're out, Tom. That's what they should have said. You're out. And when Mello came in, he should have said, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this credibly, ethically, and responsibly. And if I'm going to make you guys victims and all this, you need to go. But the problem is they hired a guy with no prosecutorial experience, no clue how this works, frankly, no recognition of the conflict. He clearly didn't recognize it because he was giving interviews to the press after the indictment saying it's an overwhelming case and I'm confident he'll get convicted. That's actually worse than what Morrissey said in August 23, but that's neither here nor there either. But the conflicts that continue to exist in this with the state police, this is all going to be part of our defense, okay? You are allowed to attack the integrity of the investigation, and if the prosecution has evidence in its possession, custody, and control that supports that, that is considered exculpatory.
Yes.
Kyles versus Whitley. It's a famous U.S. Supreme Court case from 1995. Look it up. 514 U.S. 419 talks about this. Okay. And they have evidence of a conflicted and corrupt investigation. And Michael Proctor is the linchpin and centerpiece of that. So just give us the evidence. And if you think it's not relevant, make a motion precluding it. But turn it over.
Absolutely. And I think, though, just as, again, only as a civilian and as somebody who you've been able to break this down for in such an incredible way, like, to me, Mr. Bederow, you do this like nobody else can, to allow us to understand fundamentals. It's always the fundamentals and the principles that it all goes back to. But when you recuse the Norfolk DA's office, recused themselves, and yet used the Mass State Police to investigate, that are embedded in that very same Norfolk DA's office, you screwed the pooch, and you did it on you screwed the pooch, and there could have never been an independent investigation. So on your mark, get set, go fuck yourself, dismiss it.
Go look at the initial thing that put this guy on their radar. April 18th, 2023, you know, Canton cover up #1 or whatever, which is publicizing the defense motion from a week prior, which really blew the lid off all of this. And in that article, there is discussion about a corrupt state trooper named Michael Proctor. He's named in it. Again, it's going from the motion, and this went on and on. Without more, how could you have the Norfolk DA detective unit, which is literally embedded in the DA's office, is literally hand in hand with the DA, such to the extent that a few months later, you had the DA, making a hostage video, making a fool of himself, defending the integrity of Michael Proctor in that statement. Literally, again, they're overusing literally, but it's literal in this case. The conflicts are ridiculous. And when the DA steps away, how do you not take your state police people with you? And if you want to cut it finely, you could. I mean, if you want to say the state police as a whole don't have a conflict, then go knock on the door of the Middlesex County Police Unit and see if they're interested. And I would suggest to you that one of the reasons they didn't want to do all that, they were afraid of the answer they were going to get, which is get lost. I'm not with a 100-foot pole. So why not just do it with a conflict? Because, what's the difference? Shit. And you will see, which you can't see right now, communications where there's kind of that sentiment about it's just us now. Let's do it.
Wow.
You couldn't have a bigger conflict than the state police have with this. And it's remarkable that, the colonel, as they say, the Commodore, isn't troubled by this. I mean, we just saw the executive board say, this is a joke with what's happened. Embarrassing is the word he used. That Proctor has made this an embarrassing chapter for the
mass state police history. Yep.
My view is I understand the sentiment, but the reality is embarrassing isn't the right word.
It isn't.
Embarrassing is, the joke I made is when you walk down the street and fart in front of someone. That's embarrassing. This is disgraceful. This is a scandal. This is discrediting your entire organization. And even if the colonel believes, I don't like this guy, this journalist, or whatever you want to call him, and I think that he should be gone after, that's fine. We can agree to disagree, but there's a way to do it. And the way to do it is to go to the bullpen and bring in some unbiased people to handle this candidly and professionally. And the DA doesn't do it. Special prosecutor doesn't do it. The state police don't do it. And all they do is show the public why nobody takes the Norfolk DA's office seriously, or nobody trusts them. And this is why they have the public relations crisis that they do. And this is why state police union, that's why this is embarrassing. This is all your own doing. Okay. The fault is in the mirror. It's the DA's office, including their state police people. And eventually all roads go back to Proctor, and look at it now. I mean, it's about to blow up into a scandal that is 10 times larger than you thought it was even. And it was bad enough, a week or two ago.
Absolutely. And thank you as always, Mr. Bederow, for breaking down that. I really wanted to talk to you this morning about both those similarly, needed.
Are we done? Go get another cup of coffee.
No, go get another cup of coffee, because I wanted to talk to you, if you have a moment, about I want to talk about the mafia and sports rigging.
Oh boy.
Do you have any comments and thoughts on that?
I do, but let me caffeinate.
Okay,
more.
go get it. I'm going to play my song. Ooh, we're doing another intermission, lovies. We are just ready to rock today. This is the best. I am living my truth. And okay. Hold, please. Go there. Let's do a little, guys, if you want to get like ready, okay, this is going to be what prepares you for the day. Woo, I got to share my screen. Oh, frigger it out. Okay, share it. I'm world premiere, coffee break number 2. This is by Toy from Rathouse Media. Shout out to Toy, the Nurse Kim Creed. It's a banger.
Kegel. Here we Scalpel so sharp when I step on the scene. Facts on deck, my cut so clean. Dear little sweet, baby Jesus, grab that spleen. I clock your vitals while you spill that tea. Truth got pulse, you flatland on me. I scrub and clean while y'all talk cheap. I chart receipts, no gossip sheets. Next patient, please, I don't treat deceit. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's Creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of the creed. Talk your shit, I sterilize scenes. Burn through lies like I'm autoclave steam. Mask on tight, can't breathe my air. Pressure so thick, it'll cold you there. Vitals jump when I walk in clean. Truth gets served while you spill that tea. Calm as a cut, no shakes, no plea. I make the facts bleed, pretty for free. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's Creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day.
I love this.
Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of creed. Oh, you still with me, lovies? Don't chase clout, chase context. Oh dear sweet baby Jesus, half these takes need triage. Read this chart back, word for word. Every line I spit is a fact confirmed. Perception versus projection, same disease. Only truth gets sanitized by me. Blues Clues, motherfuckers is deputy. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's Creed.
Wow. Hold, please.
You just made me feel really old.
I did? How?
I don't know. I guess I'd say that's not my style of music, but it's clever. So no, I know you love it, so that's fine. Be you.
Be me. Do you? That's a banger. Okay, that's summer 2026. We are going on tour. Who? Toy. Not me, but I am going to, it was so, you know how I'm weird and I get things stuck in my head. That hook, I thought it's just, and my hype song before every single stream I ever do is Many Men by 50 Cent. Okay. So I'm a rap connoisseur of the old school nature. I'm sorry, but thank you so much to Rathouse Media. Thank you to Toy. I love that song.
I'm a much more traditional music, although, today's not the day for this conversation, but, I've had to reevaluate a lot of my music choices in the last year. Well, for reasons that are not good, including there's stuff, my favorite band of all time. I mean, they're dead to me. I can't listen to it because of, professional reasons and things, but let's not get into that today.
Wow. Well, yeah. But let's get into that someday because I want to talk all that shit. Will there be something that's come? Well, never mind. I won't even.
They're all going to pay. Yes. But it takes time.
Noted. Now we've re-upped. I've got a half a tea still rocking and rolling. You are another cupping. tell me everything about the Genovese family and their connection to rigging professional sports.
Well, I mean, there's traditionally, the five families.
Yes.
I don't mean like Corleone, Barsini, Stracci,
No.
There are in New York, Genovese, Gambinos, Lucchese's, Bonanos, and Colombos. And historically, the Gambinos were like the John Gotti group and that group. But historically, the most powerful ones have been the Genovese and the Gambinos, and the Lucchese ones are actually, if you like Goodfellas, in real life, those are the Lucchese's, like the Lufthansa heist and Henry Hill.
Yes.
That's actually the Lucchese's. And I know all this stuff because I just, I had fascinating mafia case. God, it's almost 20 years ago. I can't believe it. But the Genovese are very powerful. And the mafia is nothing like it used to be, obviously. But, in the 80s, even the 90s. But some of their classic rackets are always going to be gambling and rigging whatever they can rig. It's easy moneymaker. There's always.
Well, wait a minute, though. Rigging is Listen, rigging is that's so kind of shocking to me. I don't like the Genovese family. If it was the Gambinos, I might have had a different take on this. But they're the least of my favorite of the five families. However,
between mafia families, that
yes. I was like, they didn't do it for the love of the game. All right, but
you told me about your mother being in Sicily. This is an offline conversation. Wow. Okay.
Anywho, I like having bookies, right? Bookies are bookies, right? We've done this since the end of since the beginning of time. The rigging, though, I mean, and the fact that the New York, there's been press conferences that are like, this is huge. This is like a RICO case, right? Or something.
I don't know if they charge it as RICO. I haven't looked at the charging instruments. This one I know mostly from the news, and of course, as any sports fan, I mean, when you see like Chauncey Billups, and then of course Celtics fans laughing at Scary Terry. You remember Scary Terry? And then you go back and you say that guy, was it 2018 Game 7, where the Celtics with a very young Jason Tatum, without Kyrie Irving, but they made it all the way to a Game 7, and Terry Rozier in that game was god awful, and it makes you think. It makes you think. My God, and this is the NBA, and everybody knows about Tim Donaghy, which was a huge case here. I remember it well in the Eastern District of New York. He was a literally corrupt referee who was fixing games, and let's be honest, and if you're a sports fan, you understand this. Basketball is by far the easiest game to fix because you're calling fouls or not calling fouls, which can impact easy free throws, points or not. It's much easier to fix basketball, and the refereeing and officiating, which across the board is pretty bad in every game, has always been a joke in the NBA.
Always.
And the NBA's reputation has always been worse, and Donaghy exists. And then you see this cheating scandal involves the NBA. And so it's a black eye. But I mean, if they're rigging games, if someone like Scary Terry, again, for the Celtics fans, is out there telling people, I'm going to get hurt tonight and I'm only going to play X many minutes, and there's some cheesy prop bet that says, the over-under of, Terry Rozier playing 12 minutes, this also tells you how profoundly stupid these people are. Because let me tell you, the people who run the sports books and start looking for fraud, these people are brilliant, okay? Like, they know a lot about gambling and they know a lot about sports. And let's be honest, a prop bet on minutes played by Terry Rozier is not the kind of prop bet that normally would get a lot of action, okay? He is what you would call a slightly above average garden variety NBA player, but not an all-star. on a team that nobody really cares about, in a game on a Wednesday in February that nobody, whatever it was. And all of a sudden, the sports books see a shit ton of money come in on Terry Rozier playing the under. And then, you know it, I hurt my ankle. I mean, that is the easiest mark in the world for the sports books to pick up.
Red flag. Yeah. Yep.
My God. You know, so if they're fixing those kinds of things, which is not to be mixed up with like the poker games, that's kind of a different thing.
Okay.
But, you know, the allegation is that, you know, Terry Rozier was impacting the competitive fairness of a sporting event to help gamblers. And that's bad. I mean, you know, if sports are fixed, then we don't have sports.
Right.
Bottom line. I mean,
Agreed.
pay gazillions of dollars to attend these things. You know, we all love, I mean, people like me, you know, love sports, this, that. The idea that it's not legitimate, terrible.
Yes. And I just had a lot, like, I just wanted to know, as somebody in New York, right, at this time, because I know it is different, and the 5 families are different now than they were. There used to be power, money, power, respect. I know that there are still powerful organizations in sanitation. And however, that is a pause, because I think that a lot of people, I bet games, right? Like, you can do that through FanDuel or DraftKings or things like that. I don't have a bookie. But it makes you just feel, as a viewer, as somebody, as the public, like, I have a love of my teams. I have a love of, like, you know, the Celtics, I ebb and flow. I know you don't, but some years I'm into it, some years I'm not. The Red Sox,
bad this year. If you're going to sit out a year, this is the year.
This is going to be the year. Yeah. But my Celtics, and I mean, not my Celtics, my Red Sox and my Patriots are, like, you know, I bleed for them. And that, I think, is because of the way when I was growing up. I mean, that dynasty, right? Like, and it was they were losers until I was literally, you know, old enough to know. So, like, 12 years old was, I think, or, you know, the first, or 10 or 12 was our first Super Bowl win in 2001. And then in 2004, when we broke the curse, it was huge for the Red Sox. And I have a Red Sox tattoo. I know, it all happens. And I got one with my mother. Stop. Okay. So these are things that, like, if you're from a big sports city or a town, or whoever your teams are that you love, if you have passion for it, it's just disappointing. You know what I mean? Like, it's disappointing because, like, fuck off. All I want to do is, like, I always think that there's, like, a bigger purpose behind it. Like, in 2004, it was electric. You could feel it in the air. And you were never going to tell me that the Red Sox weren't winning. Like, I knew it. There was something, I'm telling you, that, like, the spirit moved me, that I was like, the Red Sox are like, this is happening, babe. And like, I just think that a lot of people feel that way about their teams too. And then to think that, like, you can have the ability to outside influences affect it sucks.
When you said, I knew this was happening, it really depends on what moment. There is no way in losing game 3 at Fenway Park to the Yankees 19-8. I mean, that was as low as it gets.
I knew it was happening. Listen, I was delusional. I lived on a delusion of grandeur. Always be delusional. When you were looking at it, and I said, they still have a chance. There's still a chance. How about Super Bowl 51, where we were down 28-3? I kept it. I knew that if one person could do it, it was Tom fucking Brady.
So 2 things.
Sorry.
No way any sane person would say after game 3 that they were winning. And even if there was a chance, and even as they started coming back, you know, game 4, the stolen base, the Dave Roberts, Bill Miller, unbelievable. Game 5 was that long game, David Ortiz in extra innings. Okay. Game 6 was the bloody sock, and you're like, holy crap. Now you have game 7. And see, my reaction at that point was, in a normal world, of course they're going to win, but this would be the most Red Sox thing of all time
to Buckner it. Yeah.
Lay down in game 7. And if you remember game 7, Ortiz hit a bomb in the first inning and this, and I'm like, wow. But even then, the one moment in sports for me of all time, and it wasn't the most dramatic moment, but it was the biggest release moment, if you remember, was in game 7, and it was a grand slam by Johnny Damon, which I believe put the Red Sox up 8-0 or something like that. That was the, oh my God, it's happening. It's honestly,
it's happening.
But, and no way down 28-3. I will say the Edelman catch, which I think they were still down 2 scores, so they still have a lot to go. But that catch, I will grant you, was like, this is destiny.
And the replay, do you remember seeing the replay? And I go, oh my God, he caught. I go, oh. And then that replay, and I was just like, there is no, like, when things are bigger and it's just like, this is fated. It is happening.
Well,
they got into it.
Here's the difference between the Red Sox and the Patriots, because of course the Patriots are winners, right? They're not like a classic. So in that Super Bowl, okay, and the game went to overtime against Atlanta, and the Patriots got the ball, like this is over. Now the Red Sox, you'd be waiting. How are they going to screw this up? But I can just remember laughing, like, and this is under the old rules where you don't necessarily get the right to possess the ball. If the other team scores a touchdown, and like you're giving, after this comeback, Tom Brady the ball to just score a touchdown, like, turn it off. Like, it's going to happen. And of course they methodically march downfield, and that's that. So that's the difference with that. But
can I tell you a hot take? I also, and you're going to say you're absolutely out of your mind. Sometimes, like, so I don't bet based on anything like normal. It's just like what I feel, right? So I have a friendly bet with my friend Mike Montante. He's my KMS buddy. And I took the Blue Jays for the World Series to win. And he said, I can't take your money, Kimberly. Okay. I can't take your money. And I go, take the bet. Okay. So I hope that everybody, because this man does Excel spreadsheets for his bet. Like, the man takes it very seriously, his gambling and his betting. And if the Blue Jays pull this off by some miracle, because it's due and it's fated and it could happen, okay, I will have bragging rights for the rest of my life. And I just want you to know that.
Okay. Well, it's 1-1. So,
Oh my. So yeah, that was all. I just wanted to ask you, like, about just those, like, the opinion, and what do you think could happen with the sports, with the family, and if there is any impact to my Blue Jays
based on the gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows how far out it goes? I mean, it appears to be an NBA scandal.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's any joke that a lot of times when you see, put aside the Black Sox from like 1919 and throwing the World Series and all that stuff. Most sports cheating, there was the point shaving scandal, which was Boston College. Before your time, before my time, in the early 80s, that was the mafia. They were shaving points to affect the spread. Tim Donaghy is the NBA. This is the NBA. It's no surprise to me that you see this in basketball, because it is the easiest game to influence. Just with fouls, and points are so much easier to add or subtract than in football or in baseball. I mean, in baseball, you still have to score. You still have to, hit the ball and whatever. To me, basketball is just the most obvious way to do it. And, how the hell they got their hooks into these people, I don't know. But I don't know that it's going to extend to baseball. Baseball, it's very hard to fix. Of your sports, I would say baseball is as hard as it gets.
Okay. And what time are our Patriots playing today?
1 o'clock at home against Cleveland.
I won't be there. I hope that anybody who is going to the game will be layered up because it is cold. It's chilly as shit today.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will not be there, obviously. I get this text from my son yesterday. Let's go next weekend against Atlanta. Like, okay. I don't. I may go when I'm out there in several weeks. Come out there. We'll see. But yeah, today is Cleveland. Cleveland stinks. They had a good defense, so that'll be interesting to see. How the Patriots deal with that. But this is another one of those you can't lose games. They have to win.
Yes, and everything on paper would say to you that we would win it. However, let us see. And always there can be a really good game or a really bad game by our team. But I am praying for an absolute another victory.
I'm going to tell you what's becoming clearer every week is, and it's a crapshoot. They hit the jackpot with their draft pick of a quarterback, which is the most important position in all sports.
Of course.
And, at the time they got the third pick and there were 3 quarterbacks, and most people, the Bears took Caleb Williams, where a lot of people are like, I don't know. He's kind of, but the next guy who was taken was Jaden Daniels, who I had a little bias because he was at Arizona State, but he transferred to LSU because Herm Edwards, screwed up ASU for years and he left. A lot of people wanted Jaden Daniels, but the risk about him was he's like really skinny, small bodied, and he's like one hit away. And May is bigger and he's pretty fast. He's a running, and we've never had a mobile quarterback. Even Brady's like slower than me. Not really, but close.
Right.
I would come close in a race with him. And you've got a guy now who seems to check off every box. And he looks like a steal. He looks that good. And he's only in his second year. And they got lucky. I mean, they literally.
Well, and Vrabel. And I feel like Vrabel was always a really great. Yeah.
Well, Vrabel, unfortunately, was hired a year too late. So last year was a loss. But things happen for a reason. The Patriots go out and win a game you wanted them to lose. So they could have had the second draft pick. But then Drake May falls to them in 3. It's actually a blessing in disguise. So
noted. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mr. Bederow, you are the best to ever do it. You are my favorite emotional support attorney. You are my friend. And thank you for bringing this Sunday service. You broke things down in a way, as always, that is able to be processed by just us regular folk. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for you and for giving me and all of us, all the lovies, your time, because you don't need to, but it is a highlight of my Sunday is to hang out with you.
Well, Sunday morning works. I mean, honestly, I'm the only one, me and the dogs are the only ones up before noon. It feels like on Sunday, and it just keeps me from doing work, which is fine. So, and it's fun. And I like how you branch off into, sports and things. And so, no, my pleasure.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll be in touch, and we'll play Bagel sometime, or maybe not.
Maybe not. I encourage you to play Bagel with my family, but I may sit that out.
Okay. Bye, Mr. Bederow.
Let's see. All right. Be well.
Lovies, stop it. I'm calling the good Auntie Bev. I'm going to call Mrs. Bederow, and I am going to be absolutely learning how to play a game and potentially start my own racketeering business. Just kidding for any hater that is in my chat. I want to leave today with the musings of one toy from Rat House Media, because Nurse Kim Creed will be in your brain for the rest of the day. Hashtag can't stop, won't stop. Oh, wait a minute. figure it out how to play it. And I love your faces. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us for Sunday service. Add. How do I do it? Oh, share it. Jesus, son of a boopsie daisy. She's gonna figure it out. Add.
Clench. Kegel. Here we go. Scalpel so sharp when I step on the scene. Facts on deck, my cut so clean. Dear little sweet, baby Jesus, grab that spleen. I clock your vitals while you spill that tea. Truth got pulse, you flatland on me. I scrub and clean while y'all talk cheap. I chart receipts, no gossip sheets. Next patient, please, I don't treat deceit. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's speed. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of the creed. Talk your shit, I sterilize scenes. Burn through lies like I'm autoclave steam. Mask on tight, can't breathe my air. Pressure so thick, it'll cold you there. Vitals jump when I walk in clean. Truth gets served while you spill that tea. Calm as a cut, no shakes, no plea. I make the facts bleed, pretty for free. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of creed. You still with me, lovies? Don't chase clout, chase context. Oh dear sweet baby Jesus, half these takes need triage. Read this chart back, word for word. Every line I spit is a fact confirmed. Perception versus projection, same disease. Only truth gets sanitized by me. Blues Clues, motherfuckers is Debbie. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed.
All right, great job on the news.
Thank you.
We will, Courtney and I will share what happened when we went to dinner last night, Sunday dinner, coming up. And as